Welcome to Behind the Scenes at Slow Wine Fair 2023 in Bologna. Stevie and the podcast crew interview a variety of Italian exhibitors who attended the fair and took the opportunity to chat with many of the benchmark producers selected for our new book, Italian Wine Unplugged 2.0. Check out the big buffet of guests and get ready to be hungry and thirsty as exhibitors and producers talk about their signature products and give us top tips for food, wine, and fun in their regions.
I have yet another guest, fantastic guest, who has been telling me some really crazy stuff, so I'll let her explain it. But her name is ELISABETTA Montenidoli.
That's it.
Yes?
The mountain of the small nests.
And you're with the Montenidoli Winery.
Montenidoli.
Winery. Yes. Okay. Actually, we kidnapped you and brought you here because you're a benchmark producer for the book that we have that's just come out, Italian Wine Unplugged 2.0. And in the book, we talk about your Vernaccia di San Gimignano and your Canaiolo Nero. I would like you to tell me first who you are, and I want to know a little bit about your family history and the winery.
The place is in the heart of the Mediterranean Sea, on top of the hill in front of San Gimignano, between Florence and Siena.
Tell me about the winery. Tell me about the history of the winery.
I was born in Roma from a family that has now many vineyards in around Verona, but the land is for the boys, not for the girls. So I studied in London, and then of course my kids were difficult kids, and so they needed to have free land to stay in nature. So my grandmother's money, I went down to San Gimignano, and I bought an abandoned land for the kids, not to make wine.
Okay.
Then, when the kids were okay, either I had to sell or I had to make wine.
And you made wine.
And I made wine.
And it turned out great.
That's why I make wine.
What is the one food that you cooked that was the best, that everybody loved? It was the best food that your children, your sons and your daughters, they all said, Mama, you make this for me today? Tell me what it was.
Extra virgin olive oil.
Yes.
From San Gimignano, from Montenidoli.
Do you produce also olives?
Of course, yes.
Fantastic.
Very good olive oil with a fresh, warm polenta from Verona.
Do you export outside of Italy?
Of course.
Yes. And how how many bottles do you make a year, roughly?
100,000.
Wow. Okay. So a lot of exporting. And how many wines do you make?
11 different wines.
Which one is your favorite?
Come on, they are my children. How can you ask me that?
I know, but I got to ask you about which one do you drink the most? There's a better question.
No, I drink in the morning all the wines I have to put in the bottle.
Oh, okay. That's good enough.
So Vernaccia di San Gimignano. You know why you can make a white wine in San Gimignano? Because the sea is made of shells. The sea was there on the lower part of the hill, and so you have white soil, very classic for white wines. It's a Chablis. So you can have a very good white wine of Montenidoli, and it is a white wine for the mother and the marine sediments, but a red wine for the climate. So you have a red of the white wines. It is a wine that stays for long. The older it is, the better it becomes. And that's why you can have a good white wine in the heart of red Tuscan wine.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yes, that's interesting.
No, it is interesting because the reason why so yes, you were used as a benchmark producer in the book, but it's a lot of students want to know a little bit deeper about, the wines, the grapes, and so that's something that's very
important, yes.
It's very important.
It is the red of the white wines. That's very easy.
Of the white wines.
And our Canaiolo, that is a very special kind of Canaiolo. Canaiolo with a red stem. Actually, it is a transgender because it's neither a red nor a white. For this reason, it is a perfect rosé.
I appreciate you coming to talk to us, and I It's such a pleasure to meet you.
Okay,
Thank
so
you
come
so
and see me. Come and see me at Montenegro.
I will. Thank you so much. Grazie, Elisabetta. We are at the Slow Wine Festival by Slow Food, and we are in Bologna, and I have another amazing guest with me today, Alessandro COMOTTO,
COMOTTO.
with a double T, from La Masera.
La Masera.
La Masera.
La Masera.
Oh my God. And he's one of our benchmark producers. Benchmark producers meaning we have his Erba Luce.
Erba Luce.
Mentioned in this book, which is the Italian Wine Unplugged 2.0. It's the second edition, and it's for, wine lovers and everyone really, but we have a lot of students that use this book for learning about Italian wines and grapes. So I would like to particularly ask you a little bit about the Erba Luce in a moment, but first,
Yes.
tell me who you are.
I am Alessandro, one of the 5 friends that in 2005 decided to create a crazy adventure for the new production of the wines, because really we produce the wine for all our life with our father and grandfather. But in 2005 we started to have some good wines, and so we started with these adventures, in particular with these grapes, that Erba Luce, that is typical of our area. In particular, is the only area that is called Canavese in the northeast of the Piemonte, and is a particularly natural amphitheater morainics that is formed more than 4 million years ago, and is the natural area where the Erba Luce takes some characteristics, some some aromas and some typical sensor for this wine. And it's the only white Italian wine that have the 3 DOCG in 3 different vinification: sparkling, classic methods, still, and sweet. The historical passito.
So how many wines in total do you guys make?
We have 11
kinds.
11 labels.
11 labels.
Very a lot, but we produce more or less 30,000 for year of bottles. And of these, 25,000 are of Erba Luce in these 3 different vinification. So for us, the principal wines is the Erba Luce.
Right. And do you export it, or?
We export a little bit in New York, in Japan, Tokyo, in Sweden, Stockholm.
Which one is the most important market? Which one is the most?
Italian. Is the Italian. In this moment, the Italian. The 85% in Italy and the 15% in outside.
And if somebody wanted to learn more about Erba Luce?
The Erba Luce is a particular wine that is so good with the food. Have 3 characteristics that are acidity, minerality, and sapidity. And these 3 elements with the food is a good match. For example, bagna cauda, that is bagna cauda.
Okay, what is that?
A sauce of fish.
Okay.
That is typical in Piemonte. To eat with some verdure.
With some vegetables?
Vegetable in the crudité of vegetables.
So like with your aperitivo maybe, or?
No, it's a strong, it's a strong, yes, it's very.
Okay, so maybe not. Yes. I gotta try that. I don't know, it's good.
Okay, it's typical of the Piemonte. It is a white wines, but it's a good personality that is possible to drink this wine also with some different dish, fish, but also meat, also vegetables. So the match of the wine with the food, in particular on the white wines, arrived in the last story. Because one time our father and grandfather preferred the red wines more.
Yes.
The white Erba Luce was especially for the passito. But in the last 20, 30 years, also the other vinification, still and sparkling, is also used in the restaurants and also in shop wines with some match with some food and good. The tasting is so fresh. It's so fresh, but at the same time, the structure of this wine is similar of the red wines. So support a lot of dish.
Everybody,
Okay.
Alessandro COMOTTO. from
COMOTTO.
La Massera.
Ok, bye bye. Thank you very much. Grazie a te. Ciao, 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 ciao.
Welcome back to another interview at the Slow Wine Festival, Slow Food. And we are in Bologna. And I am with Filippo PADOAN.
Yes, exactly.
From the Aquila del Torre winery. And actually, we kidnapped you and brought you here
Yeah.
because you are one of the benchmark producers for your Piccolit.
Yes.
That is mentioned in this book. So I'm going to ask you about that in a minute. But can you tell me who you are?
So I work in this winery as the sales manager for the Italian market.
Okay.
I work with them since 2020 during pandemic period. So we're growing pretty well. So
Tell me about the azienda. Tell me a little bit about maybe the history.
the winery exists like a wine production winery since 1910. The property, the actual property is there since 1996, and we're talking about a property of 18 hectares of vines and more or less 60 hectares of woods, around it.
Okay.
That it works like a sort of protection for the vines. Very interesting and a very good position because we're not so far from the mountains behind us and not so far from the sea on the other side.
Is it organic that you're doing, or
Biologic.
you do biodynamic?
Yes, we are. So we are biologic. We have the certificate. We are starting to use some biodynamic techniques. It's a way to work without using, how can I say, intensive works in the vines, without adding or with some standard that you have to respect for, how can I say, sulfiti,
The sulfites, yeah.
the sulfites. And this is more quite generic. On the specific, I can tell you the numbers, but it's a more natural way,
So how many bottles a year do you guys put out?
So we produce more or less 60,000 bottles,
Wow, okay. And how many labels?
10 labels.
10 labels. Which one is the most important, the most popular?
So the most representative for us, it's the Friulano,
Friulano.
an local grape.
Did I ask you where the winery was exactly?
No, the winery is in Savorniano del Torre. It's near, how can I say, near Povoleto, that is a city nearby Udine,
Udine.
the north part of Udine.
Got it. Okay. If I was a student and I wanted to learn more about Piccolit, can you tell me something that is like important about it, but not superficial, something like maybe special about this grape?
The interesting part of Piccolit is that it's a very, very rare grape because of the dimensions. The grapes are very, very small.
Yes.
And the fact is that during the maturation, suddenly they stop producing grapes. That means that in September, when they finish, there are very, very much less grapes on the Piccolit instead of the, I can say, Merlot because of other grapes. This is a natural thing that happens it's a part of the DNA of Piccolit, but the quality of the grape is very, very high.
Oh, okay. So there's less grapes and
Yes, but means less grapes means more quality of the grape.
more quality. Okay. And you export some of this?
Yes, some of it, yeah. We export something in Japan, in the north of Europe, Sweden, Norway. And we're starting to sell something in the United States.
And okay, we're at Slow Food, Slow Wine.
Yes.
What do you think for abbinamento? What would you have with your Piccolit?
The perfect, for me, pairing is Piccolit, maybe not the recent one,
Okay.
some years ago,
Yeah.
with some blue cheese.
Blue cheese.
Yes,
I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
Okay. In Italy, where is a good blue cheese?
I would say maybe the Gorgonzola,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good Italian one, but also with not Italian but international. We tried some very times with the Stilton cheese.
Stilton?
Yeah,
Wow.
Roquefort, yeah.
Okay. Did not expect that. Thank you so much for
Thank
taking
you.
the time. It
It was a
lovely.
pleasure, thank you.
Filippo PADOAN from Aquila del Torre.
Yeah,
Talking
exactly.
about Piccoli.
Thank you.
Thank you. Here in Bologna, and I'm here with somebody by the name of Gregorio Ferro, which is iron, not steel.
It's iron, not steel.
I was just saying, I was hoping it was steel.
Yeah.
Then I could say you're like Superman, but that's okay. And you're part of Scarpa Winery. So we grabbed you and brought you here because your Barbera grape, you're actually one of the benchmark producers in the book Italian Wine Unplugged 2.0, which is the second edition. Tell me who you are, tell me where your winery is located, and tell me a little bit about your winery.
So I am Gregorio. I work for Scarpa. It's almost 7 years that I work there. Scarpa is a very classic and traditional winery. We are based in Nizza Monferrato, so our main production is about Barbera. Our main cultivated grape is Barbera, but as an historical winery, we also produce wine from Langhe area, having vineyards also there. So our most cultivated grape is still Barbera, but also Nebbiolo plays an important role in our history and in our tradition. Plus, at Scarpa, we still keep a lot of other different varietals, autochthonous from Monferrato area, such as Bracchetto that we vinify in a dry version, for example, or other different and niche varietals that we try to keep producing in 4,000 or 5,000 bottles maximum per vintage. And in total, the production is 150,000 bottles.
How many labels do you have?
We have 11 labels.
Can you tell me a little bit about how the Barbera is made?
We produce different kind of Barbera. The entry level, where we try to show how Barbera is in our territory, so with a lot of acidity and freshness, is a Barbera that just does stainless steel aging to preserve all those characteristics.
How long?
For 1 year in stainless steel. And then, of course, we also think that is important the aging in the bottle. So usually we try to keep the wine at least 6 months in the bottle before releasing the new vintage. Then we have two other Barberas that are in a French way, we call them the cru. They were vinified separately from the 70s on. So first vintage of La Bogliona, which is our most well-known Barbera, came in the 74, and from 74 up to today, we always have vinified that vineyard separately. So Bogliona is not just the name of the wine, but first was the name of the vineyard. And in this expression of Barbera, we do an aging that is comparable to Barolo aging, because we do 3 years of aging in big cask, always cask made from Allier wood. That is not toasted, but just steamed. This is to preserve, again, the characteristic of Barbera. And this is a wine that can last for decades. And it is really important for us, since we always also produce Barolo and Barbaresco, which are wines that can age very, very well for a long time, to have also a Barbera that can demonstrate that also with that grape, we can achieve some really, really interesting results.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask you a question about, because you were telling me a few moments ago about how you deal with people in Denmark. Can you tell me the difference to go and taste and eat and have a conversation in Denmark compared to in, let's say, Venezia, or what's it like?
I always and mainly work with the Italian market, but since when I also started working with Denmark, I found out some differences and some similarities. Of course, in Italy, we have a lot of history and a lot of very historical restaurants and restaurateurs. In Denmark, it's almost, let's say, a new market, but I was really, really satisfied with the level of culture and wines that they have, because sometimes I feel like in Italy, we have a long history, and everyone of us has at least a parent that was making wine. And so just because we know a lot of people who made wine, we just think that we already know. So we study a little bit less. The funny thing about other markets, and for me new markets, is that the nearest vine might be 1,000 kilometers from them, but they know better than us because they have a different approach. Yeah. They study a lot, and this is something really, really interesting also.
So when you go, like, what kind of food do they give you?
Oh, usually we always try to have pairings that are good for Barbera. Yeah. So I would say that everything that contains some fat, it's perfect with Barbera because the acidity of this grape is like cleaning your mouth and preparing for to continue to eat. So you start this circle where you eat and drink, eat and drink.
We are talking here today with GREGORIO FERRO, Iron from Scarpa Winery. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Grazie, grazie mille.